but I spoke with Dr. Tyler Nelson recently, and he said that you've got the strongest fingers that he's ever measured on the planet. I think you recently tested them. So, A, what does it mean? How strong are your fingers? And B, how can I get them, Allison?
Well, first of all, he just tested me in his little studio thing, um, and I think I broke the like official lattice record for overhead 20 mil edge pulls, which
No
all of their stuff
shit.
is body percentage based. So the record was like 140%, and I pulled 150%. So that's like 211 pounds, just with the one arm above head pull.
With your one arm above your head, pulling down as hard as you can. You got like a bar over your knees or something like that, so you don't lift your
Mhm.
body up because
Yeah,
you're too strong. Otherwise,
exactly.
you pulled 150% with one arm?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
So
Do you know who the previous record holder was?
I don't. I don't know if that's like client confidentiality. Probably. I don't know if they can say, but they just sent us the numbers. So, but they
I
also.
mean,
I mean, lattice.
it could be Will Bosey, Aiden Roberts, Dave McLeod. I mean, they've had all these people through there. Okay, this is nuts. Okay, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
They also have some unofficial records, like that are all self-reported, that are higher than mine, which I'm not shocked by. Like, not the overhead pulls necessarily, but more like the two-arm weighted hangs, um, and one-arm weighted hangs. Both of those, like more unofficial records from Lattice specifically, are more than I have done, um,
Hmm.
which doesn't surprise me. There are some people out there that are just really, really freak at hangboarding. Um,
But you
but
objectively have some of the strongest fingers in the world, and it's also something that you're passionate about. Like you post these great videos of you doing, these lifts off the floor and small edge hangs with weight and this kind of thing. So yeah, I'm curious uh, what you've learned kind of on this journey because you've had the strongest fingers in the game since we talked 2 years ago, and they just like it keeps going, which is
yeah,
mind-boggling, but also you're still psyched on it, so you must still be seeing some results. So what have you learned from this, and what might I learn from it?
I mean, multiple things. I think one, I do really like. I enjoy hangboarding. Like, I think it's. My first favorite activity is climbing, and my second one is hangboarding. But I do separate them in my mind like that a little bit. Like at some point, they stop being so correlated. I think there's also a bunch of people out there who are really, really good at hangboarding and are not as strong at climbing, but in a way that is proportional to their hangboarding abilities. Uh, Magnus Midtbø just did a video with Will Bosey and Adam Ondra, and I
Yeah.
also can do more than all of them on the hangboard. Like they were testing 10 on an edge that I have definitely hung with like 15 pounds added, and Adam and Magnus couldn't hang it at all. Um, and then they were
Wow.
all talking about their Beastmaker records, which I have done way more than also. But obviously, all of those guys are better than me. There's just like climbing is just so multifaceted, and finger strength is one component of it that I happen to be really good at. Um, Especially in the straight arm position, which is also unusual. A lot of people, and all three of those guys were agreeing that they were better at locked off position hangboarding than straight arm. Um, my arms are super long, so the lock off just on a bar is really hard for me. I can barely hold a lock off in any angle.
All right, y'all, just a quick 30 seconds here to tell you about today's sponsor, which is Frictitious Climbing. Y'all, check out this thing that they invented here. This is so rad. It's a doorway mount for your hangboard. No screwing, no drilling, no punching holes in your walls. If you travel a lot, this thing's amazing. You can put any hangboard you own onto this thing, or you can score one of their rad hangboards for 20% off, hitting that link below. It can come pre-mounted like mine did. So I popped it out of the box, I mounted it on the doorway, no mess, no fuss, and boom, you're hanging your tendons in minutes. I love this thing.
And so, yeah, I think obviously it's cool and I'm having a great time. And you just mentioned Tyler Nelson, and he's also said it's good to work on your weaknesses, but also if you want to climb the hardest you can climb, it's probably going to be a boulder that plays to your strengths. So you should also lean into your strengths too. So that's sort of why I've kept the foot on the gas for the hangboarding too, is because if I was going to find a boulder that suited me really well and that suited that straight arm finger strength, I want to be as strong as possible in that style that I can. But yeah, I think people tend to get like bogged down in what level of their finger strength correlates to what level of climbing they should be at. And I always stress, like, I'm super psyched by my hangboarding, and I've always loved hangboarding, and I think it's a great tool to use to get better finger strength, but it is definitely not the end all be all. And I don't think there's an objective way to correlate it to climbing ability. Like, climbing just has so many different levels to it, whether it's flexibility, mobility, power, strength, technique, all these different things. And Tyler's ultrasounded my fingers, and I have really good tendon attachment points in my fingers too, so part of it's genetic. But yeah, I think people tend to get frustrated by their hangboarding ability. But it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm really psyched on hangboarding, and I really love it a lot. But I think it is definitely not the end all be all of climbing, and it's a fun sub hobby, and it definitely works out well when it does for me. But yeah, there's so many different things.
I love that you're psyched on it. I mean, it's something like I am objectively very weak for my grade on a hangboard and with finger strength. I've had conversations with Alex Honnold, who has said that it's the same for him. I think for him, less about because he actually is, and more just because he likes to focus on doing like a ton of mileage, and he's just not working like max finger strength. That's maybe not what he's psyched on. But I love that you're psyched on it, and you have been doing it for quite some time. And you mentioned a few different methodologies there. There's the arm hang with weight on a board. There's the one arm overhead. There's lifting plates off the ground, which I've seen you do. There's overcoming isometric pulls using a tin deck, which you mentioned a friend using and Tyler likes to do, and that's how you were measuring. So do you like to do them all? There's minimal edge hangs. There's all these kinds of things, right? Do you cycle through them all, or have you found for you that your body responds better to certain protocols than others?
I mean, my body clearly responds well to all finger training. But for me, it's just mostly been A, about staying psyched on it, and B, about varying whatever the stimulus is. So that's like both changing the activity, like lifting weight off the ground, hanging, pulling, whatever the exercise is, but also the board. Like, not all boards are created equal. So I'll train on the Beastmaker, and then the tension board, and then the lattice board, and then some of the micro edges, and then I'll go back. So varying that also. And then also just, but not too fast, like sticking to one thing for a number of weeks. It's usually about 6 weeks, like it's an actual strength cycle. But it's mostly organic. Like, I usually set a goal when I start doing something new. Like, I test whatever I'm at. And so, like, for my left arm, my left hand is way stronger than my right. And so when I first tested the block lifts with the weight off the ground, I could do 200 pounds on my left hand, but I could only do 170 on my right hand, maybe. And so my goal for that was to lift 200 pounds off the ground with both hands. And that took like months. And then once I did that, then I moved on to the next. Like, I usually have a sort of an outcome goal that I use to motivate me to keep doing that same exercise. And then once I hit that, I change and do something else.
Sick.